I've closed billion-dollar deals, unraveled corporate fraud that made headlines, and stared down every flavor of lie the world can produce. But nothing, absolutely nothing, trains you for the moment you drive 8 straight hours back to your father's land, only to find 2 HOA security guards blocking the dirt road, pointing at a brand new steel gate they planted on ground that has your family's blood in it, and telling you with smug little smiles, "Sir, you're banned from entering." That was the exact second of rage I'd spent years burying detonated inside my chest, and the lawyer I became in Chicago woke up roaring. I don't do early mornings. My body refuses to acknowledge life before 7. Yet that dawn my eyes snapped open in the dark, like someone had jammed a live wire into my spine. Not anxiety, not a nightmare. Something real was waiting. My apartment was silent, climate-controlled, 30 floors above the city noise. A museum of the man I'd turned myself into, Samuel Carter, corporate litigator, downtown Chicago. Suits more familiar than sunlight, but I'd been dreaming of my father. And Robert Carter never visits quietly, not in life, not in dreams. In the dream, he stood exactly as he always had, arms folded, jaw carved from granite, silence heavier than any shouting match we ever had. I sat up, rubbed my face, let the darkness settle. Then my phone vibrated. Unknown number. 3 missed calls. It buzzed again. I answered, expecting some East Coast client in crisis. "Hello." A woman's voice, trembling but professionally calm. "Is this Mr. Samuel Carter, son of Robert Carter?" Every muscle in my back locked. "Yes." "Who is this?" "St. Luke's General Hospital. Your father was brought in early this morning. He's in critical condition. Suspected massive heart attack. He's unresponsive. For one heartbeat I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't care, but because I honestly didn't know what I was allowed to feel. The last words my father spoke to me 3 years ago were, "You are no longer my son." He'd accused me of abandoning the land, the name, the bloodline, and hung up. Hearing a stranger say he might die felt like a sledgehammer to the ribs. The nurse softened. "Do you have any other next of kin we should notify?" "No, just me." My voice sounded steadier than the rest of me. "Text me the address." "I'm on my way." I hung up and moved before my brain caught up. Silk pajamas hit the floor. Stiffest jeans I own. Boots I hadn't worn in years. The go bag from the closet. Half emergency kit. Half escape plan. The transformation was instant. City lawyer to prodigal son in under 5 minutes. By the time the sky bruised gray, the Tesla was already whispering west on the interstate. No music, no podcasts, just a low hum of tires and silence thick enough to choke on. I thought about the man at the other end of this drive. If he was even still breathing. My father measured life in acres, not hours. 5,000 acres, 1 dog, 1 shotgun, and a permanent war against anyone carrying a clipboard. I'd spent my entire youth trying to outrun him. Legal distance, emotional distance, any distance I could manufacture. Somewhere past Rockford, I texted the only person who would understand the cold, not in my gut. Me, heading to the farm. Something feels wrong. Greenhaven, HOA, buying up land around town. Ring any bells? Leo. FBI doesn't usually chase HOA drama, but I'll look. Fraud smell? Tell me. I set the phone down, tightened both hands on the wheel, and stared at the endless black ribbon of road. I thought the worst thing waiting was a dying father, and decades of unresolved fury. I was wrong. I thought I was racing death. I didn't realize I was driving straight into a war. The farther west I went, the more the world peeled away its city skin. Steel and glass gave way to barns, windmills, skies so wide it felt judgmental. The Tesla glided almost silently, and the quiet gave memory too much room. Robert Carter, built from dust, sweat, and a stubborn pride that could either forge a legacy or burn one to the ground. 2 beliefs, land and bloodline. Land always came first. As a kid, I never understood. 5,000 acres felt like a prison sentence. While he taught me to fix tractors and stack hay, I dreamed of books, cities, anything that didn't smell like diesel and manure. I was 12, perched on a fence rail, while he inspected a broken water line. He wiped sweat, looked up, and said, "Land doesn't leave you, son. People do." I thought he was trying to guilt me. Now I wonder if he was begging. At 18, I stuffed everything I owned into a rust bucket Ford and left without looking back. Law school, internships, corner offices, anything that kept me far away. He called me a traitor. I called him a relic. Neither apology ever came. When Mom died, he waited weeks to tell me. Funeral long over. Didn't want to interrupt your meetings. That was the moment the crack between us became a canyon. For hours, and Leo texted again. Greenhaven pulled big permits last year. Expansion. Quiet. Too quiet. Digging deeper. A cold fist closed around my stomach. I'd heard the name in passing. Clients complaining about HOAs turning into petty dictatorships. But this wasn't about lawn height. This was my father's land. Land he would die for. Why the hell was an HOA anywhere near it? Sunset bled across the horizon. Memories sharpened. Dad chasing surveyors off with a rifle. Dad staring down county officials. Dad whispering after Mom's death that the land was all he had left. I used to roll my eyes. Now I wondered if he'd been telling the truth the whole time. The last stretch of highway dropped me into Fairview County. Familiar signs, rusted welcome board, abandoned gas station, diner with the half-dead neon open that flickered since the Bush years. Everything looked smaller. Or maybe I'd just grown too far away to fit anymore. The farm was 20 minutes down a back road. But first the hospital. St. Luke's General crouched on the edge of town, like a tired dog. Cracked parking lot, peeling paint, automatic doors that wheezed. I parked, stepped out, and the smell hit. Disinfectant old carpet and something metallic that dragged me straight back to law school libraries. Inside, the nurse glanced over her glasses. Robert Carter. Room 215, ICU. Sanitized badge. The hallway lights buzzed like dying insects. Room 215. I stopped in the doorway. Nothing prepares you for seeing the man who once lifted tractor engines like groceries lying small and fragile under thin sheets. Pale skin, gray hair I didn't remember, oxygen tubing, wires, monitors beeping slow and steady, too steady. For a long moment I couldn't move. Just stared at the man who taught me how to swing a hammer straight, how to glare down anyone who stepped on Carter ground. The same man I'd screamed at, who'd scream back, the same man I'd abandoned. I pulled up a chair. "Hey!" I whispered, voice cracking like a teenager's. "It's me." 10 silent minutes. Then the door opened. Doctor, late 40s, salt and pepper beard, eyes that had delivered too much bad news. "You must be Samuel." "Yeah. How is he?" "Stable for now. Unconscious. Massive cardiac event. Extreme stress on the heart." I swallowed. "He doesn't drink. Hasn't in 30 years. The doctor paused. "He did that night. Found collapsed outside a liquor store. Blood alcohol was elevated. My brain short-circuited. That's impossible. Clothes were normal, work jacket, jeans, dusty. No ID except an old insurance card. Brought in by a passerby. A chill crawled up my spine. Anything unusual on him? We don't know yet. If you can get to the house, medications, paperwork, anything might help us understand what triggered this." I nodded slowly. "I'll get it." When the doctor left, the room shrank. I looked at my father again, the man who stared down bulldozers, now couldn't open his eyes. "I'll be back," I told the unconscious shape. "Don't you dare go anywhere." Outside, the late afternoon light was thick orange. I knew the road to the farm by heart, but I never imagined the first thing I'd meet would be a 12-foot steel barricade and armed guards telling me I didn't belong on my own blood-soaked ground. The dirt road had always been the same. Winding, quiet, honest. That evening it ended in a wall. The ancient wooden gate Dad refused to replace for 30 years was gone. In its place, gleaming steel reflective paint, reinforced hinges, still smelling of fresh machine oil. A giant sign screamed Greenhaven Residential Management. Private entry, authorized personnel only. Cute little green leaf logo like this was some gated suburb and not the middle of nowhere. A white Ford Explorer with green stripes sat beside it. 2 guards, sunglasses despite the dying light, arms folded like bouncers at a bad club. The taller one stepped forward as I rolled to a stop. "Can I help you, sir?" Tone said, He had zero intention of helping. I'm going to the Carter farm. This is my father's property. They exchanged smirks. The shorter one tapped his radio, like a kid with a new toy. Yeah, tall guy said. About that. This land falls under Greenhaven, HOA jurisdiction now. You're not on the approved resident list. I stared at the gate, then at them. I didn't ask permission. I stated where I'm going. Gum-chewing guard shifted his weight, itching for intimidation. Buddy, rules are rules. Authorization required. Buddy, the word designed to piss me off. I kept my face neutral. I'd like to see the deed transfer or any legal instrument placing this parcel under HOA authority. Tall guy blinked, clearly not expecting actual law. We don't carry paperwork. Then what exactly are you enforcing? That irritated him. Good. Listen, counselor, he drawled. We know who you are and what you're trying. My jaw locked. They were briefed. They were waiting for me. I reached forward slowly, tapped the Tesla center console. Soft chime. Cameras on. Red recording light glowed. Tall guy noticed. Straightened. Just for the record. I said calmly, I am Samuel Carter, son of the owner, Robert Carter, currently in ICU. I am attempting to access his residence to retrieve medical belongings. You can explain obstruction to the sheriff. He snorted. Call them. Until Greenhaven management confirms, you're not passing. Then call. Office is closed. Convenient. He smirked, thinking he'd won. I leaned back, calculating. Legally, I could force this. Morally, I wanted to rip the gate off with my teeth. Strategically, not yet. Ramming it now handled the felony. I didn't have documents in hand. Not yet. So I smiled, cold and controlled. Enjoy the gate while it lasts. I'll be back with something you can't block. What's that? Gumchewer asked. Evidence. Their smirks flickered. I reversed slowly, never breaking eye contact. To them I was retreating. I wasn't. I was recording, planning, building the case that would bury them. Dust swirled as I pulled away. In the rear view, the steel gate glinted like a blade across the throat of my childhood. A barrier. A declaration of war. They had no idea who they'd just challenged. The Tesla's cabin was ice cold, not from the AC, but from what had just happened. I drove away from that illegal gate with both hands locked at 10 and 2, knuckles white, jaw clenched so hard I could hear the grinding in my skull. The guards' laughter still echoed behind me. Tinny and cheap, the kind of laugh men give when they think they've already won and nobody's watching the footage. They were wrong on both counts. I didn't speak for the first 5 miles. Didn't curse, didn't slam the wheel, didn't call anyone. I just let the rage settle into something colder, sharper, more useful. The kind of anger that doesn't explode. It dissects. Every second of the confrontation, replayed in high definition. Tall guard calling me counselor, without me ever giving my profession that Gumchewer's deliberate tap on the HOA patch like he was flashing a badge that actually meant something. The way they angled their bodies to block both dash cam and body cam sightlines at first, then relaxed when they thought I was leaving. The radio codes they used, code for subject retreating, as if this were a police stop instead of trespass on private land. All of it premeditated. All of it recorded in 4K from 3 separate Tesla cameras, plus my phone in the windshield mount. I pulled over on a gravel turnout, where the corn was taller than the car, killed the engine, and opened the iPad. Fairview County's online records loaded like they were running on a 1998 dial-up modem. Spinning wheel. Online records temporarily unavailable. Last updated 2017. Of course, I switched to the Illinois State Land Registry. The Carter parcel page showed no recent filings available. For latest changes, contact county recorder in person. Translation. Someone could slide forged documents through a back door and nobody would know for weeks. I exhaled through my teeth, slow and hissing. Phase 1 had just become crystal clear. I needed 4 things before I touched that gate again. Certified proof of current ownership, still Robert Carter. Proof the annexation was fraudulent. Proof of criminal obstruction and threats already recorded. That a lawful necessity defense for any self-help entry I might be forced to execute. Tesla had already delivered number 3 in spades. I opened the voice memo app and hit record. Speaking calm and clinical, the way I dictate deposition summary for partners who bill $1,200 an hour. Statement of Samuel Carter, September 14th, 11:47 p.m. I am en route to retrieve urgent medical records and medications from my father, Robert Carter, currently unconscious in ICU at St. Luke's General following cardiac arrest. An unlawful barrier has been erected on private Carter property without consent or legal authority. Armed private security personnel have denied entry to the sole next of kin. Any further obstruction will be met with lawful remedies including but not limited to Illinois Criminal Code 720 ILCS 5/21-3, criminal trespass to real property, and 720 ILCS 5/7-3, defense of property. This recording establishes necessity and will be preserved as evidence. I saved it, emailed it to myself, Leo, and a paralegal friend in Chicago who owed me a favor the size of Lake Michigan. Then I turned the car around and pointed it toward town. The courthouse was closed, obviously. Small counties roll up the sidewalks at 4:30 sharp. But I knew Linda Barnes, the recorder who'd been there since I was in diapers. Linda still lived in the same little brick house behind the Lutheran church. I'd seen her at the hospital earlier. She'd given me that look people give when they know something's rotten, but can't say it out loud yet. I pulled into her driveway at 12:03 a.m. Porch light flicked on before I even killed the engine. Linda opened the door in a robe and slippers, silver hair and curlers, but her eyes were sharp. Sam Carter. Either the world's ending or you're about to make it end for somebody. Little of both, I said. Can I come in? She stepped aside. The house smelled like coffee and Benghazi and 30 years of government secrets. We sat at her kitchen table under a single hanging bulb. I laid out everything. The gate, the guards, the hospital, the liquor store that made no sense, the online records being down. She listened without interrupting, which for Linda was equivalent of screaming. When I finished, she folded her arms. I heard rumors. Greenhaven's been flashing cash like a drunk sailor, buying farms nobody thought would ever sell. Folks signing papers they swear they never saw before. Then suddenly there's an HOA and steel gates and armed rent-a-cops. Linda, I need the physical ledger tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. Every page that even smells like Carter or Greenhaven. She chewed her lip. Sam, if somebody backdated something, then we catch them with their hands still in the cookie jar, and we nail the jar to the wall with them inside it. She stared at me a long time, then nodded once. 8 o'clock. Side door. Bring good coffee. I stood. Linda, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Sugar. Thank me when we burn the Sonsawpiches down. I slept 3 hours in the Tesla in the courthouse parking lot. Seat reclined. Alarm set for 6:45. At 6:57, Linda's silver Buick pulled in. She handed me a paper cup that smelled like heaven and a ring of keys that could open Fort Knox. Inside the recorder's office, she didn't bother turning on the main lights, just a fluorescent over the ledger cages. She pulled volume 412, then 413, then a supplemental administrative notice binder that definitely wasn't supposed to exist. Page flip, then she stopped breathing. Here, she whispered. I looked over her shoulder. Supplemental administrative notice hashtag 2025-0914. ADM. Filed 5 days ago at 5:46 p.m., an hour and 46 minutes after the office closed. Description: annexation of parcel 12-09-400-001, Carter Farm, 5,012.7 acres, into Greenhaven Community Association boundaries per emergency resolution and signature of County Surveyor Daniel R. Collins. My blood turned to antifreeze. Linda, Daniel Collins died in October 2019. I was a pallbearer. She covered her mouth. Lord Jesus. The signature was there, big looping capital D, that everybody in the county used to tease him about. Except this one was stiffer, printed, not written, traced, and the timestamp proved after-hours access. I took high-resolution photos of every page, every stamp, every margin note. Then I had Linda make certified copies, time-stamped, notarized, sealed. The stack was 2 inches thick and felt like plutonium in my hands. Who accepted this filing? I asked. She hesitated, then opened the internal log. Clerk initial, JM. J. Mullery, I said. County clerk. Golfing buddy of every developer within 200 miles. Rumored to keep a second set of books in his fishing cabin. Linda touched my arm. Sam, you be careful. These people play ugly. I'm done being careful. I walked out with the evidence locked in a fireproof briefcase I kept in the Tesla's frunk. Dawn was just starting to bruise the sky purple. I drove straight to the hospital, parked, and sat in the ICU waiting room until visiting hours. Dad hadn't moved. Same slow beeps, same gray face. I held his hand, rough as sandpaper, and whispered, I found the first lie. There's more, but I'm handling it now. Then I texted Leo the photos with a single line. We have a dead man's signature and an after-hours filing. This just went federal. His reply came in 8 seconds. On my way. Do not go near that gate again until I'm wheels down. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Sorry, Leo. Some fights you can't delegate. I drove back to the farm road at 10:17 a.m. The gate was still there, gleaming like it was proud of itself. Same 2 guards, same smug postures. Gum Chewer recognized the Tesla instantly and grinned like a jackal. Well, look who's back for round 2, counselor. I rolled the window down exactly 6 inches. Under whose authority are you denying entry? Greenhaven Community Association, same as yesterday. I smiled. Small. Lethal. That annexation document filed last week is a forgery. I have certified proof in this vehicle from the county recorder, signed by a man who's been dead 6 years. You now have 10 seconds to open the gate before you personally commit felony criminal trespass and obstruction of medical necessity. Tall guy's grin faltered. Gum Chewer reached for his radio. I opened the door slowly, stepped out, held up the certified stack so every Tesla camera caught it clear. My name is Samuel Carter. This is written notice of lawful entry to secure critical medical documents for Robert Carter, ICU patient. You are being recorded from multiple angles. Any further interference will be prosecuted under federal and state law. I placed a notice on the gate's crossbar. Gum Chewer spat on the ground. You ain't walking through here. No, I said, sliding back behind the wheel. I'm driving. I shifted into drive. His eyes went wide. Hey, wait. Too late. The Tesla surged forward, not reckless, not crazy, just deliberate, unstoppable mass times acceleration. The gate groaned, bent, hinges screaming, then exploded backward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. One guard dove left. The other dropped his baton and ran. The car rolled through the wreckage like it was tissue paper. I slowed, checked mirrors, spoke clearly for the dash cam. Illegal barrier removed from private property. No injuries. Proceeding to residence to secure medical belongings. Timestamp 10:22 a.m. And just like that, I was on Carter land again. The gravel road curved through corn and soybean like it always had, but everything felt tilted. The house came into view, and my stomach dropped. Front door standing open. Welcome, Matt Crooked. Brass knob scratched to hell. Dad would sooner burn the place down than leave a Matt Crooked. I parked, killed the engine, and stepped out into air that smelled like diesel in violation. The silence was wrong, too complete, like the farm itself was holding its breath. I walked up the porch steps slow, scanning. Fresh prime marks around the lock. Tiny curls of metal shavings still on the wood. Someone had jimmied it in the last 24 hours. Inside, the living room looked like a bomb made of greed had gone off. Dad's recliner shoved sideways. Remote on the floor. Boot prints, 2 sets, one heavier. Tracking dust across Mom's braided rug. Drawers yanked, cabinets gaping. The ceramic jar where Dad kept emergency cash. Smashed. Shards everywhere. Fresh boot print right through the middle. Kitchen worse. Silverware scattered. Refrigerator door open. They'd been looking for something specific. I moved down the hall with the cold focus I use when I walk into a hostile boardroom. Dad's bedroom was gutted, mattress flipped, closet emptied, photo album strewn like trash. The corner of the carpet peeled back, floorboard pried up, empty. They'd found the hiding spot, took Mom's wedding ring, and the key to the safe. I stood there a long time, letting the rage crystallize into something pure and surgical. Then the floor creaked behind me. I spun, fists clenched, ready for whoever they'd sent to finish the job. It was Jack, 68 years old, sun-leathered skin, denim jacket older than I was. He filled the doorway like a quiet storm. Figured you'd make it through one way or another, he said, voice gravel in sadness. Jack, what the hell happened? He stepped inside, looked around like he was seeing a murder scene. 3 nights ago. Midnight. White box truck, no markings. 2 guards, same assholes from the gate. Dragged your daddy's safe out like it was garbage day. I yelled. They told me mind my employment, or they'd make sure I never worked another acre in this county. My pulse was a war drum. You're sure it was Green Haven? He spat tobacco juice out the door. Had their logo on the damn doors, Sam, and the tall one took my picture. Said it was for file. I closed my eyes, saw red. Where's Bruno? Jack's face collapsed. They had a catch pole. Dog went for him. Haven't seen him since. For 1 second the room blurred. Bruno was Dad's shadow, would have died for him. Jack put a hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, son. I nodded once, swallowed a howl trying to climb my throat. Then I saw it. Folded paper half buried under scattered mail. I picked it up. Green Haven Community Association. Security Compliance Inspection. Completed. Date. September 12th. Notes. Safe removed for code violation storage. They'd put an official sticker on a felony home invasion. I folded the notice, slid it into my pocket next to the forged annexation papers. Jack watched me carefully. You okay? No, I said, but I'm clear. Crystal clear. He frowned. Clear about what? This wasn't random. They needed time to erase evidence before I got here. They wanted me locked out. I stepped onto the porch, looked across the fields that had been in Carter hands since 1883. They think they robbed an old man. I said, voice low enough the wind almost stole it. What they actually did was declare war on the wrong damn lawyer. The sun was high and merciless when I stepped off that porch. The crushed HOA inspection notice still clenched in my fist like a death warrant. Jack lingered behind me, hat in his hands, eyes scanning the horizon the way men do when they've seen too many storms. You want me to stick around? He asked. I need an hour alone, I said. Then I need you to tell me everything you remember about that truck. Every letter, every sound, every face. He nodded once and walked toward the barn without another word. I stood in the yard and let the land speak. Tire tracks cut deep near the machine shed, too wide for a pickup, exactly the width of a 20-foot box truck. Diesel residue still clung to the air like a confession. I took photos from every angle, measurements, close-ups of the boot treads, even the broken ceramic shards with the perfect outline of a size 11 Wolverine boot. Evidence. All of it evidence. Then I heard it. Gravel popping fast. Engines heavy. 2 county sheriff cruisers tore around the bend. Lights flashing but no sirens, like they wanted the drama without the noise. They skidded to a stop in a cloud of dust that rolled over me like smoke. Doors flew open. For deputies, hands hovering over holsters. The lead one was Deputy Harlan Buck Rollins, thick-necked, red-faced, chewing Red Man like it was personal. I knew him from high school. He'd always hated anyone who left and came back better. Samuel Carter, he barked. Hands where I can see him. You're under arrest. Jack burst out of the barn. What the hell is this? Stay back, Jack. I shouted, raising both palms slow and deliberate. Don't give them an excuse. Buck stormed forward. Cuffs already out. Trespassing, criminal damage to private property, assault with a deadly weapon, your goddamn electric car, nearly killed 2 men. I didn't flinch. You're going to want to rethink those charges, deputy. Save it for the judge, city boy. He spun me, slammed me against the Tesla's hood hard enough to rattle teeth, ratcheted the cuffs 1 notch too tight. Standard small-town theater. Through the window, I saw Jack arguing, fists balled, deputies holding him back. I shook my head once. Not now? They shoved me into the back of Buck's cruiser. The vinyl reeked of vomit and cheap pine cleaner. Buck slid behind the wheel, grinning in the rear view. HOA lady said you'd put up a fight. Guess she was right. I stayed silent. Let him talk. People always hang themselves if you give them enough rope. His partner, a kid who couldn't be more than 23, whispered, "Paperwork says the land ain't his no more." Signed and sealed. Buck laughed. Yeah, old man Carter finally sold. Son don't like it too bad. I leaned my head back against the cage and smiled, small and sharp. They had no idea the rope was already around their necks. The county jail hadn't changed since I was 16 and got caught with a six-pack. Same cracked linoleum, same bleach and despair perfume. They took my belt, watch, phone, everything except the fire in my chest. Holding cell, steel bench, door clang. 5 minutes later, Buck came back with a tablet and that same smug grin. One phone call, counselor. Make it good. I stood. Trust me, I will. He led me to the wall phone. I dialed from memory. A number I swore I'd never need again. 1 ring. 2. Special Agent Leo Turner. Every molecule in my body unclenched. Leo, it's Sam. I'm in a cell in Fairview County. I need you. Already airborne, he said. ETA 43 minutes. Sit tight, and do not say another word to anyone. The line went dead. I hung up and looked straight at Buck. You just made the worst mistake of your career. He laughed all the way back down the hall. Midnight came slow. The jail was quiet except for the drunk in the next cell, singing Garth Brooks off-key. Then heels, confident, expensive, clicking like a countdown. The outer door opened. Voices. Then she appeared. Karen Blake. Tailored midnight blue suit, hair perfect, perfume that cost more per ounce than most deputies made in a day. She stepped into the holding area like she owned the building. And for all I knew, she'd already bought half of it. Deputy Rawlins actually looked nervous. "Ma'am, visiting hours." "It's fine, deputy," she said, voice honey over broken glass. "Mr. Carter and I are old friends." She stopped in front of my cell, folded manicured hands, and smiled the smile of a woman who thought the game was over. "Samuel, my condolences on your situation." I didn't stand. Didn't give her the satisfaction. She tilted her head. Nothing to say? No clever banner from the big city lawyer? Disappointing. Silence was my weapon. I used it. Karen produced a slim leather folder and slid out a document just far enough for me to see my father's signature at the bottom. Fairview County has officially recognized Greenhaven's acquisition of the Carter property. Your father signed the transfer himself. It's done. I finally spoke, soft and flat. Forged. She laughed, practiced, musical. Always so dramatic. She slid another paper into view, a waiver of claims, already flagged for signature. This is your one chance to walk away with only misdemeanors. Signed, admit fault, agree never to set foot on Greenhaven property again, and I'll recommend leniency. I looked up slowly. Leniency. Generous. Considering you almost murdered 2 men with your car. I leaned forward until the bars pressed cold against my forehead. You broke into my father's house. You stole his safe. You terrorized a 70-year-old man until his heart gave out. And you staged this arrest to keep me silent. Her pupils flickered. Bullseye. You have no proof, she whispered. I smiled for the first time since I crossed the state line. Karen, you should have done your homework. She opened her mouth, but the front door exploded open like God himself kicked it. FBI, hands in the air. Do not move. 6 agents in windbreakers poured in, rifles up. Leo strode at the front, badge gleaming, face carved from granite. Karen spun, color draining. What is the meaning of... Leo ignored her, looked straight at the deputy, fumbling with keys. Open the cell. Now. Keys rattled. Bars slid. I stepped out. Leo finally turned to Karen. Karen Elizabeth Blake, You are under federal arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, mail fraud, forgery of public records, aggravated theft, and about 17 other felonies we're still counting. She went rigid. You have no jurisdiction. Leo stepped close enough that she had to crane her neck. We've been watching Greenhaven for 14 months. Your little midnight visit to coerce a detainee into signing away his rights? That was a cherry on top. Thank you. 2 agent snap cuffs on her wrists. She shrieked, as they dragged her past me. This is outrageous. I know senators. I will bury every one of you. Leo looked at me. Let's go, Sam. As we walked out, I leaned in. You were right about the break-in. We have timestamps. He nodded once. We're just getting started. The raid on Greenhaven headquarters happened at 4:12 a.m. 3 unmarked SUVs, battering ram, flashbangs that lit the fake stone facade like the 4th of July. I rode in the second vehicle with Leo, authorized because only I could legally identify certain Carter family items. We hit the lobby hard. Glass doors shattered. Agents shouting FBI. Warrant. Down on the ground. Employees froze mid-step. One woman tried to swallow a flash drive. An agent caught her wrist. We moved like a storm through offices, server rooms, filing vaults. Hard drives bagged, desktops imaged, filing cabinets tagged. In the server room, the racks were labeled like a criminal's diary. Parcel acquisition logs forged notary database Carter safe contents annexation templates. Then an agent called from a side office. Agent Turner, you need to see this. Dad safe. Scratched, dented. Pried open with a crowbar. Empty except for torn velvet lining. My throat closed. Leo crouched beside me. That yours? Yes. We moved to Karen Blake's corner office. Mahogany and arrogance. On her desk, under a warm pool of lamplight, sat a small velvet pouch. I opened it with shaking fingers. Mom's wedding ring. The one Dad had custom engraved in 1984. The one he swore he'd be buried with. I closed my fist around it, so hard the edges cut. She didn't keep his evidence, I whispered. She kept it because she could. Leo's voice was soft steel. That's not theft anymore. That's cruelty. From the conference room came screaming. Karen Blake, perfect suit torn at the seam, hair wild, lunging at agents like a cornered animal. You have no idea what you're destroying, she shrieked. This corridor is bigger than one old man. Bigger than all of you. Leo stepped into the doorway. Mrs. Blake, you will never speak about Robert Carter again. Cuff snapped. She was dragged out still screaming about lawsuits and senators and ruin. One agent looked almost relieved as she passed. 17 months later, the courtroom smelled like lemon polish and finality. Karen Blake stood in orange, hair limp, no makeup, 17 years without parole. Her co-conspirators, the county clerk, the deputy, the guards, all took pleas or convictions. The judge's gavel fell like a guillotine. Outside, Dad waited on the courthouse steps in his old blazer, breathing slow, alive. We didn't speak for a long time. Justice stops the bleeding. Healing takes longer. The steel gate was gone the next morning, cut into scrap by the sheriff himself under federal order. The scar in the earth remained, but by spring it was buried under a riot of sunflowers, Mom's favorite, taller than my head, gold and defiant. Dad recovered, slow, stubborn, the way he did everything. Bruno came home 3 weeks after the raid, limping, half-starved, but tail thumping like a war drum. Every morning, Dad showed up at the build site of my new house on the West 40 with coffee and unsolicited advice. You call that square, boy? Even a blind carpenter could do better. I rolled my eyes, smiled, and listened. That was his way of saying I love you. One night, he found me in the barn, turning Mom's ring over my fingers under the work light. He sat beside me, silent a long time. I pushed too hard, he said finally. Didn't know how to say stay without sounding like a jailer. Ran you off your own blood. I placed the ring in his palm. You didn't lose everything, Dad. We still have this. We still have us. His fingers closed around it like it was the first time he'd held hope in years. You came back, he whispered. That's what saved this place. Not the FBI. Not the courts. You. I built my house close enough to see his porch light at night, far enough that we didn't kill each other. Some mornings I find him on my steps with coffee for two, pretending he's just checking my foundation. The land remembers every fight, every tear, every generation that refused to let it go. People think stories like this end in courtrooms. They're wrong. Mine ended barefoot in the dirt where that gate used to stand, pressing sunflower seeds into scar, watching them grow into a living wall no corrupt empire could ever breach again. Next to the man who taught me what being a Carter really means. For the first time in 20 years, I was home. And nobody would ever take it from us again.